One question we always ask every single day, what are you happy to compromise?
Yeah.
I run a company called BuildPilot. We quite literally help people navigate through the entire process of building a new home. That question gets them like, oh, but I thought I was going to get everything. No. Let's be real here. Yeah. Just get as much information as possible before you start, and from a reliable source.
George, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me on.
Thought I'd just come bring you in today to have a chat. So I thought the first question is who you are and what do you do?
So I run a company called BuildPilot, as you know. We quite literally help people navigate through the entire process of building a new home. And we've also extended that to different building types like renovations and home improvements as well.
Oh, wow. Okay. Didn't know that. That's good. That's a very interesting part of the market at the moment with the costs of trade and stuff going up. So going back a bit, George, so, who is George? Why did you start
I'll give you the backstory. So I come from an architectural background and I originally started working in a number of different architect offices. And for me, same thing happened. I was in front of a computer all day and every day and I got sick and tired of it. And I'm a people person, as you know, as we all are. And I felt like I was getting held back just working for somebody as a CAD monkey. I just felt like I could offer more, I could offer more. And I always loved buildings and architecture and all those wonderful things. I also liked tech, and I used to love how things came together. I was a very creative individual, and I always was as a kid. And I lent in on that passion a lot more through architecture. But then getting into the real world, for me, what happened was I got stuck and I felt like I was doing the same thing, get repetitive after repetitive, and it started losing all that passion that I always had for creativity. It started becoming non-creative. And that was my issue. So I broke away and started working for a couple of building companies.
And that's how we met.
That's how we met. Yeah. Working for a number of building companies. A good friend of mine got me in and said, you will be great at this. He saw my sales experience. He saw everything that I had because I used to work in retail while studying. I built that sales muscle.
And it's hard, George, because it's hard to be an architect or someone that's working in a screen and then to be able to have the same ability to actually be more of a people person as well. So to be able to have those two skill sets in this industry is quite important. Because we either have one or we have the other. So we're either good at people, but don't really have the tech.
That was my superpower.
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
learned both at the same time and under pressure, and it worked perfectly for 5 years. And for me, I thought to myself, I said, how can I use this skill set to present things in a way where a buyer can potentially understand a bit better, get excited about it, use those same principles on buying something in the resi market, and how does that work? So I sort of unpacked the pain points of what people had in the building process over the years. I unpacked what they were looking for, what they're expecting from a builder. I unpacked everything. So my whole language changed completely over the years.
And that was a big risk. I remember at the time, you're doing very well working, as a sales consultant selling new builds, and you decided to sort of make this big pivot. So it was a big call for you.
It was.
So how's it been for you now that you're now doing it?
It's been amazing. We went completely independent during COVID. So the worst time.
Wow.
So we spent 6 months building our infrastructure, onboarding builders, looking at our systems, our processes. We adopted a bit of a process earlier on, and that process worked every time. So we literally adapted that process that I built while working in a number of builder companies, and actually said, okay, this is the new business model. This is our strategy. This is how we're going to market.
And obviously, builders were changing. Like
everything changed.
It was a very crazy market.
Within 6 months, everything changed. The buy demand and all that. And I don't like throwing the word COVID around a lot, but that was a moment in time where the building industry quite literally changed forever.
Yeah. And there was also changes with the building code and regulations on top of all that as well.
NCC compliance over the last how many years and all of that sort of stuff. So you've got to pivot. That's just natural.
Yeah.
But for us, our whole business had to evolve and pivot. And because of my creativity and my energy in that creative space, I was able to leverage off that and always stay on the pulse and always be on the pulse. And that's why I'm still talking to customers every now and again. Yeah. Even though I've taken a step back, I'm still on the pulse because I'll read the market and I talk to you guys and I talk to the industry, and that just keeps me in check.
Absolutely. The other thing as well, I guess, since COVID's happened, technology has evolved. AI has come in, it's changed the dynamic of how not just construction like sales consultants work, but real estate and the whole world is just based on how to make things simpler for someone to understand. Absolutely. That's the beauty of what we can do. We can evolve with that and learn more about it.
I think the term artificial intelligence is very attractive when it first gets announced, right? Or it can do this, it can do that. It's never going to build houses. I strongly believe that. And we're now a tech company, right? We're a construction tech company. That's our business model. And I feel as though there's an emotional connection with building. And that still needs to happen, because remember, people are buying something with their hard-earned money. They want a level of respect. They want a level of understanding. They want a level of, there's an expectation on how they do a transaction with building, right? They're buying a property. That's what they're doing. So for them, it's one of the biggest investments they make. Think how many times people build in their whole life. Once or twice maybe, not an occupier. That's it, their whole life. This is everything to them. So you've got to feed that and give them that. So artificial will never get rid of that, but it can improve systems in the front end that we get involved in. And obviously it's improved our business model with, you know, our matching system with which builders we can match our clients with and all of that sort of stuff. And, you know, what's really, really powerful is sort of understanding and translating information in layman's terms. It's really important in this space.
We were just chatting offline before we started this chat, and it's more about, as a consumer in today's world, we go, the idea comes up, we want to build a house. And then what I call the old school way, or the typical way of doing, is we go, right, let's go out to display world, and we'll go look at some, 10 different builders, and we'll go to different estates and do all that sort of stuff. That is very time consuming, and also can be really confusing. By the time you speak to a couple of builders, you're like, what's all this jargon? What are they talking about? So what you're saying is you're now using a bit of the AI or the tech space to be able to sort of take the place of that?
Absolutely. What we found was, and so what we did, we mapped out the typical customer experience from when they're 18 years old and the conversations that they have with their parents and where they're located and all that, all the way through 10 years past living and moving into their built home. So we mapped that whole experience. We understood the pain points, we've got data already to understand what happens through the entire journey. So we interviewed all the builders and said, okay, well, this is the situation. This is what we're doing, et cetera, et cetera. We've got some data, that we've got from you. We are now going to match you with customers that are suitable for your particular project. So we quite literally built a piece of technology which actually allows users to input what they want in their build and how they want their build and where they're building, fundamental price brackets, all these normal things, but detailed enough where it takes the data from those builders, data from them, and automatically shortlist those 3 builders that are most likely to take it on.
Wow.
And we built something called BuildPilot Intelligence. BuildPilot Intelligence actually reads that data and ranks how accurate that is for the customer, so they can understand the reasoning behind why, let's say, Metricon has been shortlisted.
And so where did this idea come from, George? You're just talking about, it's like you're cutting out a lot of time and a lot of that hard work that people have to do. How did this come about? Apart from obviously understand there's obviously a need for it in the space, but I don't know if there's anything else like this in the market, is there?
No, there isn't. And the reason why is because most of the products that are out there are for builders, and a lot of the products that are trying to be for consumers, they don't actually understand building. They don't understand the psychological aspect of the sale or the preliminary process, whereas we do.
We'll have to buy some shares in his company.
But the cool thing about it though is the fact that we don't want to remove any aspects of, let's say, what you guys are doing, and we've got a one-to-one service already. We've still got our one-to-one. We've got a team that still, if a customer, we give the customer options. If they want to go down the path of one-to-one and they want our professional experience to help them design their home, match them with the appropriate builder, and have them navigate through the process personally, no problems. We can do it, and that will always stay there because that is our bread and butter at the moment. But for us moving forward, we noticed a gap in our market where people still decided whether they should just go to the builder direct.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that was about...
It's just creating more choice, more choice and more options.
More choice, more options, but it also gave us the in with their experience, even if they didn't want our help. They've still got our help without actually forcing it.
So the app, is it an app? They just go on and download the app?
It's both. So this is the web app, the website that you can go on there, you can download, and then you can download the app as well. But you can go on the website and actually quite literally self-track your entire building process.
Wow, fantastic.
It's got things like cost trackers, milestone, checklists, and all sorts of cool tools. Facade visualizer, you can visualize your facade, you can change materials, you can do all sorts of stuff. So there's really cool things about it. But the key here is nurturing. That is our main objective with this entire platform. We want to quite literally help them warm them up, ready to come and see you guys.
So that's different to a buyer's agent, isn't it?
Totally different.
Totally different.
Totally
Exactly.
different.
Yeah.
They're shopping for the cheapest price. We're not doing that at all.
Right.
We're nurturing that customer.
Yeah.
And remember, it's a collaborative experience, right?
Yeah.
So our one-to-one service, it's never about who's the cheapest builder. It's about who's the right builder for this type of project that you're taking on, and who are you going to have a better experience with. If a builder loves to take it on and they're itching for it and they would love to see it, they'll have a better experience. You know that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because they're geared for it. Their business is geared for it. So
And it's
no
also
different
about it's also about whether you're a buyer's agent or in your case through BuildPilot, it's about, how many builders do you actually have an intimate relationship that you know what to do, so then you can actually match the client specifically.
Exactly.
A lot of buyer's agents don't have the relationships with all of the builders. So in terms of relationship with your builders, I mean, how many builders do you have on?
We've got 30 plus in Adelaide.
Wow. Okay.
We've got 3 in Melbourne and 2 in Brisbane. So we're expanding on the East Coast now.
Fantastic.
Melbourne's one of those markets which is very, very different, as we were saying before. That speed is very, very evident in Melbourne. Things get done quickly. That's perfect for what we are doing. Adelaide's always been a bit slower with the market and pivoting and so if we can master it in Adelaide, we can master it
We've got
anywhere.
more time in Adelaide.
We do.
Melbourne, we don't have so much
But
time.
we're also governed by the hills and the beach. There's only so much land you've got in here. So geographically, it's not really built for scale, but that's another conversation. But I think where we're going and where our business is going, I think it's going to support the builders so much more.
Yeah. And you said 30 builders. That's a lot of builders in Adelaide. That's a good portfolio. That sounds pretty solid to me. Do you vet those builders?
We do based on our market conditions. So we start seeing patterns of what kind of customers we're getting and start onboarding. And not every builder gets stuff because we don't get all the clients that are really wanting those projects.
And the other thing as well, I guess you take the myth out of what we see in building, because if someone comes in like a display home, for example, straight away they've probably seen 4 or 5 different builders and they're like, which one's the best for me? And that's where something like BuildPilot's like, well, what are you looking for? Cool, well, this is the avenue you can go look at.
And sometimes you've got a whole bunch of different sales consultants spruiking. They're sort of spruiking what they do. But then you've got all these bits of information to try to decipher what's actually important for that particular client. Might not be, the consultant might not be actually addressing what's actually particularly important for that client. Whereas what you're saying is they can go and actually put one set of data in and then basically get the right sort of questions answered, so it's more sort of uniform.
Well, they get exactly the project that they want to take on, and then they'll get a better experience. And even our one-to-one service is exactly the same. We've got the back-end tool that we use the same way. One thing that I've realised, it's all collaborative. It's never against the builder or it's never the client. It's always, let's work together. There's a common goal here. The builder's got certain goals, responsibilities, requirements that they need to meet in order for this project to go ahead really well. Everyone needs to respect that.
You raise a really good point, and we see this in display world. You raise a very good point. People think that all builders are the same; they all do the same thing, and they don't realise that they're not all the same.
It's total opposite.
And so sometimes someone's coming and say, "I've got this from this builder. Can you match it or tell me what you do?" And whether it's price or quality of build or particular things that they do, sometimes you're comparing the wrong builders. And you're always going to get the wrong outcome when you're comparing the wrong thing. So,
when it's price orientated, because there's a misconception in this industry that every builder can build every house. That's false.
Yeah,
we all know.
Yeah,
that.
we absolutely.
As reps, we know that.
Yeah,
the market doesn't.
Yeah, absolutely.
They don't understand it. They think,
and they don't know what the similarities are.
They don't. No. And it's not only inclusions; it's build type projects. It's what they want to take on.
Absolutely.
Is this type of build for our system doesn't work?
Yeah.
So they're the kind of things that we sort of map out with that customer to make sure that and then when the builders get it, it goes through flying colours. Our cancellation rate is almost 0.
Yeah. Wow.
Because we don't have to worry about them having a bad experience.
You can talk about 0% cancellation for the builder, and that's great for them. But ultimately, the customer, if customers aren't engaging in a transaction and getting 6 months through the process and going, this builder's not for me. And we see that all the time. When someone's gone, I've just spent 6 to 12 months with a particular builder and come back and said, oh, I'm going to eject. That's not a good outcome for anyone. And that costs time and money as well.
For everyone.
You lose 12 months in a project and the build costs have gone up, 7, 8, 9, 10%. And all of a sudden you're starting again. So really good point. Time.
People need to understand that the effort that goes into building, as we all know, there's a lot of money that the builders have to throw at these projects to get them to site, and there's a lot of time and energy. And there's a level of respect that I think sometimes buyers don't show. And by us filtering these kind of people out and sort of saying, exactly, we know timelines, we know what kind of timeline Metricon's going to take to get to site. We know
Yeah.
all the other builders. So we know that, and we set that expectation from the start. And a lot of the time, the whole experience is always set correctly from the beginning. If they know it's going to take 12 months, fantastic.
Yeah.
George, we don't mind.
Yeah.
Tick.
Set the
I've
right
talked about it.
expectation.
You understand it. We're all clear. We know how to navigate through this.
So there's been a lot of change since obviously the budget. Everyone's talking about the budget, and fundamentally, yes, I know that it's a budget announcement, but there's been some major changes in that I think fundamentally shift the way whether you're an investor or first-time buyer move in the space. What have you seen? I suppose whether it's the last 2 months or last 6 months. What are some of the trends you're seeing at the moment? Whether you're a first-time buyer investor that you're seeing.
First-time buyers are not there at the moment. They're sort of a little bit sort of waiting until things sort of kick off again, I think. They're also scared to make big decisions because it is a big investment. It's their first ever investment, and they are influenced by what their parents are telling them as well. We know that.
Yeah.
Then we look at the second home buyers, or the, mums and dads, if you will.
Upsizers or downsizers.
They are always going to be around. They've got the asset already, and they're still active. A lot of our projects are those at the moment. Knockdown rebuilds. They're most of our business at the moment.
And when you look at the policy change, they're the ones that are probably least affected the most because they're not a first-time buyer and they're not an investor, which are the two sides of the coins that the policy's been addressed. So there you're seeing that market still very active and very live.
That's powerful now. That's stronger. That's actually stronger than ever.
Yeah.
Because also the other thing is we've noticed these developers, for example, you go to the next tier and look at developments, we were talking before, they've actually sort of dried up a little bit from our end anyway. The 1 into 2s are still there, but the 1 into 3s and 4s and 5s and 6s, they're very specialised type builders that are taking it on. And a lot of those builders are undercutting it to win those jobs. That's just the reality we live in.
Yeah,
so those retail builders, we don't win it.
Yeah, certainly. And I think this also just comes down to when there's uncertainty in the marketplace, especially for an investor. Costs are going up and then necessarily the end product is maybe going down. So they're sort of wait and see sort of scenario. What are you seeing out there, Robbie?
For me, I see a bit of, again, like you said, the first-time buyers gone. They're non-existent basically because, again, all they can do is just jump on realestate.com quite quickly and then go, okay, this package is starting at $750. When for some people, that's almost $4,000 a month mortgage. Like, how do they afford that? So again, I think you're correct where they've just wait to see what happens next. In terms of investors, I see them slowly coming in because I see the opportunity that the first-time buyers are gone. Guess what? Prices are still sitting the same because they're not moving. They're going to capitalize on that opportunity.
Yeah. I think for me, I was talking with you before and also with you, Robbie. I went to Melbourne to sort of have a bit of a scope of what's happening there and get an idea of the landscape. And it's sort of the epiphany for me was that typically when we see all this stuff on the radio, TV, newspaper, and there's a lot of information, even social media now, I was reminded that a lot of this stuff is directed at Melbourne and Sydney.
Yeah.
And you look at the Melbourne market, and I haven't been to Sydney, but I understand the Sydney market. Adelaide is still a very, very different market. Yeah. So a lot of those changes do impact, I think, and make a difference for those people in most states, whereas in South Australia, we've still got a bit of a land shortage. We're still a nice place to live. We've still got relatively good infrastructure. When I say infrastructure, roads, yes, I know there's some issues with getting some infrastructure to site to be able to build these blocks, but we've got more of a supply issue in South Australia. So whereas Melbourne doesn't have a supply issue. So for me, I think that supply issue is probably still wreaking a bit of havoc here in SA. So that's the main thing that I see in terms of we've still got certain challenges in South Australia. The market's still very robust. The supply is still limited. So yeah, I think like you said, that sort of market where you've already got the asset and maybe improving the current asset, so knocking down a house and rebuilding on it, I think is still very relevant.
One thing we've noticed with Melbourne is Melbourne's more buoyant than it is in Adelaide. And I think Melbourne's got more scale and geographically it's built for scale.
Absolutely.
It can spread and there's infrastructure already in place for that sort of stuff. And they already preempted all of that, 100 years ago, let's say. Whereas Adelaide wasn't geared for scale and now we're sort of seeing the repercussions. But they're doing some great things with obviously connecting the two different regions, north and south, really
that's a fantastic project,
They're doing great.
Just not the hills.
Yeah. But they're getting in your hospital in Mount Barker, Robbie. It's pretty impressive. So,
that's pretty impressive. The hillside is changing completely. The whole landscape of the hills is becoming such a. I mean, look, entry level in Mount Barker is $1 million for something half decent. For a big house and enjoy.
A big house and some land, absolutely.
Yeah, it's decent. You need $1 million, and that's a good price still. But Mount Barker's changed significantly in 2 years.
Well, and like you said, $1 million for something reasonable because people look at the hills like it's the hills lifestyle. Guess what? If you're a first home buyer, forget it.
Yeah.
You're not having that lifestyle no more.
Yeah, well, most people thought they'd go to Mount Barker and they'll get 700 square meters of land and a big house. That's now it is starting to see more than 10 by 30s. We even starting to see some terraces, terrace road dwellings in there through there as well. So the areas are changing significantly.
Look at going back to Melbourne, we were talking about the apartment buildings, and those apartment buildings are becoming their own sanctuaries almost. Like they've got gyms, they've got saunas, they've got all within premises. But in Adelaide, we don't have these facilities. No developer has really started pushing these boundaries yet, because we sort of didn't need to, because they're so close to the city, you can just shoot off into town.
Absolutely.
But in Melbourne, it's very spread. It takes too long. So keeping them within confined spaces.
Creating the communities, it's very big there.
Exactly. And it attracts more buyers too. And the type of buyer changes too. So Adelaide's going to eventually start seeing this sort of stuff. But I think for land and what we specialise in, I think that's where we've got a strong foot forward, I think, with what's happening. But we're going to be coasting for the next couple of years, I think. That's what I think the market's in.
Good question for you. When you're sitting down, let's say for a first home buyer, for example, like pretend I'm one, what would be the common things you would look for between 3 builders for a first home buyer?
Problem is volume, how much they take on, because that increases their buying power. That's probably the first one. So if they're a larger builder, let's say like Australian Building Company or Metricon, let's say, or some of the other builders that are more volume builders, any builder that's over 500 homes a year plus will get a good bulk buying power to be able to obviously facilitate the buyer price point where they can get into. To be honest, that's probably the main point of call. The other part of it is a lot of first home buyers have got a lot of influence by media and Instagram and all of this sort of stuff, which is awesome. But what they can, generally speaking, what they can afford and what they want are two different things. That's human nature.
The expectations,
So what we find is that if we can find a way, which we always do, bridge the gap between a really beautiful designed home and the price point, that wins it every time. So, and most of the time it's either choosing a plan that's a standard plan, let's say modifying it to a point where it's suitable. We design something completely from scratch for them if it's our one-to-one. So
I think where the market's sort of moved a lot too with builders, over the last 10 years that I've been doing this is, you could still go to a volume builder and do some real good custom concept stuff. It wasn't a big deal, but right now, if you're looking at a price conscious product, builders are sort of saying, hey, you have to sort of fit with the box purely because whether it's volume or to be able to deliver the quality outcome on site, to be able to do it in a timely manner, we need to be able to start making some restrictions. And so, for some people going, well, hang on, I need price, but I want to be able to do this custom design. It's just about sort of saying, hey, it's one or the other, really. We're not going to be able to get custom and cheap pricing, but cheap pricing does come at a cost of perhaps more of a standard plan. So yes, good design from the start is important.
Correct. The Metricon do it well. They've got good designs to begin with. So, and they understand the buyer patterns, they understand what people are wanting to build, and they understand that, and that's why they've geared towards it. Whereas us, we have to create it sometimes. And we've got to sit down and say, okay, well, let's map this out. Let's program the spaces. Let's really nut out what you want your master bedroom to look like. What do you want your bathroom to look like? Let's talk about the design of that bathroom. Is it a 3-way bathroom? Is it a 2-way bathroom? How do you want to use it? And we know the trigger points of where builders charge more on, where builders charge less on. So we can sort of guide the customer to work out, okay, well, if you go this bathroom, it's going to kick out another 3-4 square meters. That could be another 5 or 6, 7 grand. Let's refine this bathroom.
What's the actual benefit of that?
What's the benefit of it? What's the ROI? And we sort of constantly sort of suggest this every single time. And part of the whole design experience with our one-to-one service is like, let's refine this home so you can enjoy it, first of all, but think differently. It doesn't always have to be tick box.
So let's say you've given them they've got 3 builders that they go out, so yep, I like builder A. Do you then work alongside them with builder A through that process?
Correct. So when they sign up with a builder, our reps quite literally stand alongside them as they navigate through the process. We let the builder still do their thing. We just sit there as a support system for that customer, someone they can rely on if they need to.
And a good point with that is, as a first-time buyer, sometimes you're looking at a plan going, that looks great, but you haven't considered something quite simple as where are the garden taps? For example, where's the rainwater tank going to go? So those little things that we probably take for granted, having someone there going, hey, have you thought about that? And that's a great outcome for everyone, because when they move in, they go, oh, I didn't think about the rainwater tank.
It was programmed correctly.
Yeah, exactly right. Spot on.
Yeah, absolutely. And programming the house for livability as well. These days, first-time buyers, let's talk first-time buyers, they were to get in the market, they're going to stay in their home for a lot longer. It used to be, we're going to move out in 5 years. We know that blows out to 10. By the time
actually, interested in the data, the last 5 years, whether that's changed, because that was going down to the average lifespan was about 5 or 7 years, I think it was. Yeah,
now
so,
it's 10.
yeah,
It'll be more.
we'd have to check that.
I reckon it's more. I reckon it'd be more. And
Yeah.
the reason why I say it'll
Yeah.
be more is because obviously interest is changing and everything's getting more expensive and all sorts. So they're staying there longer. So we say to them, I said, you need to build this home like a forever home, but you're limited in what you've got to play with.
Right.
That's it. Use that as the main.
So like a 4th bedroom versus a 3rd.
Have a think about it.
Yeah, have a think about it.
If it costs you an extra 20 grand, might be worth it.
Yeah.
Because then the value out of it is greater, but also it's cheaper to do it now than changing house in 5 years.
There's no stamp duty, you know. So the second time round, maybe exiting and getting in, there's going to be stamp duty on that 4th bedroom. So it's going to cost you a lot more than.
Plus the value of the property won't be as high compared to a 4th bedroom. And 3.
And the other benefit too, like you said, is helping a buyer understand what they should do to the home as well. It's not like they come in like they want the biggest house on the biggest block. It's like, no, this is your pricing. This is where my opinion would be for you of what you should do towards the home and make a change in terms of the layout or whatever it is, because they may not understand the future proofing you're trying to assist them with moving forward. They just see they're going to get into a home and then spend all their money when they don't need to as well.
I agree. People are making decisions based on other people's opinions.
Oh,
that's the problem.
Yeah.
We do more listening than telling, always. I tell my guys, I said, don't just brief it. Always brief it. Let's understand what they want. Ask these key questions. We've got a script every single time it works. Here's the kind of things that we need to find out from this person to say, yep, this is going to work. Look, Sarah, I don't think this is going to work. What are your thoughts on that? Ask these key trigger questions, and they're going to turn around and say, you know what, George, I don't think so. We don't really need to go that. I say, cool, let's put a question mark on that one. We'll park it. And while we're sort of sketching and looking at the plan together, we'll start looking at whether that could be one question we always ask every single buyer is, what would you happy to get rid of?
Yeah.
What are you happy to compromise?
Yeah.
That question gets them like, but I thought I was going to get everything. No. Let's be real here. Because most of the time they answer their own question, and then that way we can keep going.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Well, and you know, that's the thing. Like, I'll give you an example. I had a buyer a few months ago came in. They knew where they were at in life. First home buyer, you know, the dream was to have something nice and big. They know they can't get there now. So the conversation I had with him is, okay, cool. Set this first home up as something simple and easy to get into. You're not costing an arm and a leg to get into the market. You're getting something basic, and then use that as a stepping stone, whether you rent it, sell it, whatever you want to do to then get what you want. Whereas they did that and they listened to me, but after I had my meeting, they've gone and saw some other consultants, and the consultants didn't give a shit what they want. They just said, you're not going to get that. And that's where they're like, well, why am I going to talk to you if you're not going to help me?
Yeah, very quickly there can be people in the marketplace that just can really push people off very quickly. So I can't help you, and not want to spend the time to actually ask more questions. So that can be very disheartening for not even a first time buyer, just anyone in general going out trying to get information and being shut down. That can be very disheartening for sure.
Imagine how many people we don't see because of other people and their manner and how they present themselves. And that's a whole different conversation. We might do another one on this one, I reckon, about display home and the environment. But people are influenced.
Absolutely.
And it's very building industry is very influential. One little thing that gets said can derail anybody's path. And the thing is, even things like reviews and stuff like that, it doesn't mean, just because you get one bad review doesn't mean the whole builder's bad.
Of course, absolutely.
Let's be real here.
And sometimes you've got to dig into the review. What actually happened? For me, it's not about, so this is one of the things I love about Metricon specifically, is that during that build process, it's like things will go wrong. We're building, we're starting from nothing and putting things, we've got tradespeople, we've got regulations, we've got information flying around, there's multiple people talking through this particular project. So what I love about Metricon is that the ability to go, hey, this is what's happened on site, or so-and-so said X, or I've got this bit of information, don't know what to do with it. Our ability to respond and to rectify, I think, is really important. So we're talking about reviews. Sometimes you'll see a review, yes, this happened, but did the builder actually make an effort to fix it? Did they actually make an effort to rectify it? And I think sometimes that's the difference between a good review, bad review, or a good builder, bad builder, is that how open are they to sort of help fix the problem, the solution.
We've got a rule of thumb. It's not about, there's always going to be issues that happens throughout the building process. We tell the customers before they even sign up to build, there's going to be problems.
Yeah.
They're like, No, I'm being serious.
And that's not for everyone too. Some people go, building is actually, sometimes the conversation is, actually, I don't think building is for you, because for some people that unknown, the
mental capacity of it.
Because it can be quite stressful, quite daunting. And so for some people, it's just maybe building isn't for you, because these are all the things that can go wrong, can happen. It can, times can blow out, and for some people, that's just not the right outcome either.
I think it's based on project though. When you've got a sloping site,
Yeah,
you guys probably don't see a lot of it, but we do.
But we still manage a sloping site, and more often than not, say, hey, you want to take on this sloping site. But these are all the things that you need to consider. Now, if you don't have that right conversation, more often than not, I'll say to my client, how much time do you have, and how much, shock value do you want, and how much, things
Margin for error.
But like if you're not up for things to happen, and for all kinds of and for huge delays, if you're not up for that, then you may need to reconsider the block. For sure.
Exactly. And sometimes when you go on site and have a look at the site, and one of my guys loves going on site visits, it's his bread and butter, he loves doing it, and he goes on site and sort of checks and says, we've got to design it differently.
And
absolutely. Because we can tailor the design, sometimes you can get away with not doing any split levels and on a sloping site, depending on the size of the block. So there's definitely many ways to skin the cat.
Absolutely.
But it's not one for all, I think.
My favourite bit is when, you call somebody and said, oh, my block's flat, and it's just like that.
The best one's actually looking at the photo online, and it's like, well, that looks pretty flat. And then you go to the side and hang on.
They see your Google Street View.
It's not flat at all. So it is hard, even for the experienced person, to look at it and go, actually, that's not flat. And then someone says, but that's flat. And it's like, no, there's about half a metre of slope across the site. And
you stand at the back of the block, look at the front, and you see, where's the curb on my phone? Oh, it's up in your head. That's how much it slopes down.
And that's the key part, the difference between the consultants sometimes is some actually care, like the level of care. For me and us, exactly how you train me, go look at the block, because there might be something that the client can't see that like, again, example, if the block slopes down to the rear, it's going to need a sump and pump. They don't know what that is. There's an extra 30 grand.
Spot on.
And also, what does the sump and pump cost? I mean, what it used to cost 5 years ago and what it costs today is very, very different. And then you've got things like maintenance on that, and not everyone's up for the maintenance. So there's a lot of things around services and all those things. So
it's just preempting it really earlier on. That's really the key here. Making sure they understand, okay, well, I know I'm going to have this conversation with you. If it does happen, it's happened, and we've already talked about it.
So talk to us about the future of BuildPilot. So obviously, from what we've sort of heard today is you're working in a space that's, probably a new frontier. No one's really doing it. So what's next for what is where do you see the market going, and how do you align with that with BuildPilot moving forward?
People want information quickly, and they want reliable information, and they want to act on things. And a lot of the times, before they've even walked into a display home, they've done a lot of research. They've done, because it's easier to do research on your phone versus coming to a display, because they know when they walk into a display, everyone's going to tell them something different. That's the nature of the industry, because information's carried differently.
But also just know what questions to ask before you even go into the display.
So all of this information, we want to continue loading our platform with so much data that we collate from our one-to-one service and keep funneling through that. And for us now, it's scalability. For us now, we're in Adelaide, Melbourne, and Brisbane. We want to scale nationally really, really quickly. And our one-to-one service is limited per state, depending on who we've got there. But we've gone to the days where you have to walk into a display home to find a builder. You don't need it anymore. You can do that after you've gone through our process and after we've been filtered. And then you can say, cool, I've got a couple of builders now that I know they would take on my project. Let's sort of navigate through that.
And we've all got busy lives, right? So if I can go, hey, you need to go, because Metricon's got maybe 7 or 8 display centres. So you're not, to go to every single one of them versus just going, hey, the best one for you to go to is that one and that one. So you can just actually, once you know what you're doing, actually go and actually see what you're actually doing.
And have a chat with the consultant and enjoy it and enjoy that process. And if the customer wants our help, we'll help them. No issues there. But I think for us, the future of our business is we are becoming more of a tech-orientated business. And I think for us is we can fit in there really nicely, but we definitely don't want to lose our one-to-one service. So we'll keep that alive and grow that naturally.
Beautiful.
Because that feeds our ecosystem.
And in terms of advice, so first home buyer, second home buyer, walking away today, if people watching this would go, okay, so what would be some advice that you would give people? What do you see as the best advice you can give anyone that's looking to build in the market today?
Get as much information and reliable information first before making any decision. Don't rule out every builder. Don't rule out any builder. And like you said, think about if building is actually the option for you, is the right option for you. Because the building industry changes overnight. And it could change halfway through your build. We've seen that with the NCC guidelines that have changed, all the energy efficiency stuff. We've all had those jobs that have sort of started here and then ended up here, not from just a price point, but from an expectation perspective. just think about whether that you're emotionally charged for it. But I think building is if I had to give one piece of advice, just one piece of advice, just get as much information as possible before you start, and from reliable sources.
I was just
reliable
took the words out of my
sources.
mouth. So how do you? So yep, I'm going to go out, get some advice, get some information. What's the best way of, without using BuildPilot? Just say I didn't have BuildPilot, but yes. How am I checking this information? How have you found the best way to vet that information to be good information?
To be decent. I think not any. So if you've spoken to somebody that's built before, as long as they've built something within the last 2 years, gives you a really good indication of where sort of the market's sitting at. But a lot of the times we don't see that. A lot of the times,
if I built 20 years ago, my first house 20 years ago versus it's very different. Exactly.
Totally different. The process has changed, timelines change, everything changes.
It's a different world today.
Exactly. Speaking to the local council, just to get some data around what that pre-construction process of that section is called, understand some knowledge. There's plenty of resources online that the government have tried to put out, but a lot of it isn't really geared towards helping the client. It's just quite literally definitions. Without saying BuildPilot, there's not really much out there. That's the problem.
How about product review? People
you can go product review, but I wouldn't judge it. I wouldn't judge a builder based on that.
I think what I found with product review, I think it's a good platform, but you've got to look at some builders. Unfortunately, will go they'll rate the experience pre-build, versus rate the whole experience
after they finished building and moved in.
Yeah, so I think for me, when you're looking at things like that, if you are using product review, which I think is a good source of information, I think you just got to just look through them, through the good and the bad, and go, hey, was this pre or post? So
people don't have time for it.
Yeah,
they don't have time for all of that. They're too time. They're excited, remember. So they want to go out there. They want to see, get inspired. That's what they want.
Yeah.
So they will look to display them really quickly. But but we want to slow that process down. Don't make a decision quickly. That's what a rule of thumb that we say. Don't sign up to the builder too quick. Yeah, just slow it down.
Sometimes you do get that. They've gone out a week and they've come back over the weekend. They've signed. I've already signed up.
Yeah, exactly. I've already signed up. No,
it's not enough time. It's enough time.
Have they gone to see the block at all? Have you done some due diligence work there?
Yeah.
Like we've all had those clients that we know that we can do the project.
Absolutely,
because we've got proven track record. We've got projects that we've done in the area. There's a lot of data to prove that this is going to work. But those other jobs, information is power.
Basically, building's like this big myth. And even for me, before I got into the construction world, I thought, here's the base price, cool, that's my house and land package done. But then what George is basically doing is taking the myth out of building. Building can be done. It's not for everyone, of course, but it can be done.
Absolutely.
It's not scary.
Yeah.
Building is not scary.
Can't seem scary.
Depends on the project, but it's not scary. Like if you simplify things and don't make too many decisions, I'd rather you worry about making a decision on which tap you're going to choose.
Yeah.
Like worry about that because that's more stressful than anything else. It really is, and color coordinations and all of that sort of stuff. And unfortunately, Metricon have got a great selection studio.
Yeah, we do. We do great. We take a lot of that.
Winning and all that.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Sure.
So as a past judge for the HIA, I've seen a lot of different types.
Actually, we didn't touch on that, George. You were
years ago
right.
now.
Yeah, well, you've done a bit of judging before as well. So you're very well versed in the industry, and I think you've done enough in there to sort of be the person that can go out and get the right information. Yeah.
Absolutely. Working with good people.
Yeah,
that's all it is. If you're a good person, you work with good people. That's our philosophy.
That's Adelaide. But
I think that's human nature. We only want to work with people that sort of see value in what we do, and that's why Metricon does, and we love working with them.
Beautiful.
So
beautiful.
Fantastic.
All right. Thanks, George.
Thank you.
Always a pleasure.
I appreciate it.
Always a pleasure.